I always look so terrible when I film without makeup. Oh my gosh. Anyway, today I wanted to try something a little different for this channel, not in general. I'm pretty darn sure it's been done on the TubeU before. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be doing a makeup look based off of a book. And today's book is The Outsiders, the 50th edition. And the 50th edition cover is just really pretty. It's this leather jacket-esque thing, and it's got the gold letters. And of course on the back it says Stay Gold, because of all the things that could have come out of The Outsiders, Stay Gold was one of them, but I understand why. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about this book while I do some makeup inspired by it. I'm not going to do inspired by the actual contents. I'm going to do it based on the new 50th edition cover, which is absolutely beautiful. It seems like The Outsiders was this end-all be-all of young adult literature. I don't know, that's what it seemed like to me, because every child in the country, no matter where you're from, has read it, had to read it for like school and stuff. And I was no different. The only difference between me and my classmates were I had read it already before we were supposed to in class. I read it when I was in 8th grade, so I was 13. I was 13 when we had to read it for school, but I was actually 10 when I read it for the first time. Because I was this nerd in school, I would always be reading, and there was actually this program in my school for the readers, like if you read a certain amount, you get like points toward a prize or some BS like that. I read a lot, and I always got points, but never got prizes. So I don't even think that's a real thing. Is that a thing anymore? Alright, so the main colors of the cover are gold, gray, and black. So that's what we're going to be using. We're going to be using golds and grays and blacks on our eyes. Maybe it's because I was just so young, but I never understood the whole Stay Gold thing. I read this book like countless times. I've read this book so many times, even today, as I'm a full-fledged adult. I've read this book. I continue to read it. I'm in the middle of reading it now. But even still, I'm just like, stay a kid? Is that what's happening? I don't fully understand. But it ended up being the most popular thing, obviously, because, spoiler! It's the last words Johnny said as he died. Oh, tragic. I know it seems like I'm totally making fun of this book. I'm not. This book is such an important piece of literature to me. It was the first real book I remember reading. Like full-fledged novel. And it always struck a chord with me, and I just remember reading it so many times. I still have the copy from when I was 10. Let me find it, actually. Look at this. This is the copy that I've had since I was 10. And then I saw this beauty in stores and just decided to relive my literary childhood. What was I saying before I went off on tangents? Oh yeah, I'm not making fun of this book, because this book was really important to me. Because I was an outsider in my school years. I was the forgotten one. I was the picked on one. And I just remember being really in touch with that. Just kind of remembering, oh yeah, this is me. This is what it's like to be me. And I know you're probably like, oh, you had to run away after your best friend murdered someone. No. So this book used to be my favorite. Used to be. It's no longer, but it's definitely a book I recommend to everybody. I don't have much backstory to the actual novel, although I do understand that the author, S.E. Hinton, as far as I can remember, she wrote this when she was like 15. Like, that's nuts. This 15-year-old girl wrote the most popular young adult fiction novel in history. That's, of course, debatable because other people would probably be like, what about To Kill a Mockingbird? I know it's up for debate, but I believe that The Outsiders is one of, if not the most popular young adult literature book to date. A lot of people, when they talk about books that they like, others will ask what their favorite part was. For me, I don't really have much of a favorite. It's kind of hard to gain a favorite from kind of a really sad book. It's like, oh, should I choose the time that Johnny decided to kill somebody in defense? Should I choose the time that Johnny and Ponyboy ran into the church to save some little kids and then the church fell on top of Johnny? Should I choose the time that Johnny died? Should I choose the gang war? Should I choose the time that Dally was so struck with grief that he decided to go rob a convenience store just so he could go get shot by the cops? Should I choose Ponyboy's PTSD spiral? What should I choose? I don't have a favorite part because it's all just so terrible. Not that the book's terrible. The book's not terrible. It's just all so sad because it's all very real. It's not too bad so far. Favorite character. That's a little easier. Everybody would assume that your favorite character is Johnny or Ponyboy, or maybe even Derry. But actually, I was a weirdo, and my favorite character was Two-Bit. The reason I liked Two-Bit so much was because he was the guy who tried to make light of the situation. He wanted everybody to have smiles and have laughs. He wanted to crack a good joke. Honestly, I didn't want to fault him too bad, only because everybody else is like super down in the dumps. Obviously, in that kind of a life, you would be. And then here's Two-Bit just like, hey, let's just party or something. I'm telling good jokes. Also, I'm kind of not giving like a plot to this book, probably because I kind of assume everybody's already read it, or at least know it. Have spark notes it for school, or maybe I'm just an idiot. Something that we should probably touch on when we're talking about the book is talking about the movie. Now, I'm going to assume you all have read the book. I mean, sure. But have you guys watched the movie? The movie has 80s actors like Emilio Estevez and Ralph Macchio, Karate Kid, Patrick Swayze, Tom Cruise, Rob Lowe. Now, speaking of Rob Lowe, he's a good-looking man. I'm not going to deny the fact that Rob Lowe is very beautiful, as he is now. But oh my gosh, young Rob Lowe playing Soda Pop Curtis, I'm pretty sure every woman on earth was in love with him. It's also particularly interesting to actually see the depths that you learn about literacy-wise, is that a thing? It's always interesting to me to see the book-to-movie adaptations, especially if you've read the book first, just to see what they've changed, what they've added, what they've gotten rid of, like if they got rid of some of your favorite parts of the book. It's a little annoying. When it came to the movie, I feel like they did the best they can because it was the 80s. They could have done better, but again, it was the 80s. The cool thing about the 50th edition that I have, that I'm basing this whole look off of, is that there's a lot of extra content in there as well. And not only like extra stuff about the book, which is really cool, but also stuff about the movie, like the making of the movie. So, am I a fan of the book? Obviously, yes. And it doesn't matter how much criticism it gets. It doesn't matter how often I read it where I actually like pinpoint a lot of maybe plot holes or bad writing. As much as I love the book, some of the writing's just bad because it was written by a 15-year-old girl. And it doesn't matter how acclaimed it gets. There's going to be bad writing in it. Because not only was she 15, but it was also her very first book. Your first written work is going to have bad writing in it. I don't care who you are. Stephen King had bad writing once. But I find that people don't like to talk about classics as potentially bad writing. I don't like to exactly point out the faults. But there are faults. We just have to be honest, guys. It's not like we're hating them, because we're not. I still adore the book, but we just also have to be realistic. So if I have to give a final review of The Outsiders, I'm not exactly sure what I would say. It's a young adult classic. It's 50 years old now. I really thought I had more to say about The Outsiders, considering how often I've read it, how much I've analyzed it. Kind of had to. And all these other things, but really I'm just kind of tapped out on what to say about the darn book. Just because I feel like anything I say about The Outsiders is almost obsolete because everybody knows it. Everybody's read it. Presumably. And I don't know. I just feel like it's not quite my place to talk about this book. Despite knowing it, despite loving it, despite that the majority of what I'm talking about is opinion. And I feel like I should feel free to talk about that, right? I should. That's just sometimes how I feel about giving my opinion, especially about books. Because I read a lot, but a lot of people I encounter also read a lot. And there's sort of this snobbery when it comes to books. Like, you have to have a certain opinion about it, or else you're wrong. Politically illiterate. I remember the first time I analyzed it in a class setting, because I've had to read it for class, I think, twice. The first teacher, I kind of went against some of the things that she said about the book. Like, one of the things was, the most tragic death is Johnny. And I disagreed. While Johnny's death is definitely tragic, it's a sad death. Like, bummer. I don't think it was the most tragic in the book. And back when I had some sort of gusto, I kind of called her out on it. I think that the most tragic death in The Outsiders is Dally. Yeah, I just think that his death was definitely one that could have been avoided, which is what made it tragic. It was more of a choice. He was at that point where now that Johnny was dead, he didn't really have a reason to go on living, so he decided to end it all in a very tragic way by a police shootout. Alright guys, we gotta complete this look. I feel not at all authentic. Look at me trying to be cute. This was the makeup look inspired by the cover of The Outsiders 50th edition, the Stay Gold edition, because still questioning. There are a lot of better quotes in here, but it doesn't matter what I think because this is the way it is now. So if any of you guys are in a position where you can own the 50th edition of The Outsiders, I do highly recommend it because of all the extra stuff, plus all like the gorgeous cover. And I actually really enjoyed this kind of a format. 50 minutes? You guys will see the edited, but oh my gosh. Yikes. Anyway, I did actually kind of enjoy doing this, so I think I'm going to pull a couple of more books off of this shelf and have fun with it. I think what I might end up doing is do books that I'm currently reading. I'm still in the middle of that Death Note one. For some reason, I'm having a hard time getting through it, but I think I'm gonna wait until whatever the next book is before I pick this up again. That's all I have for today. If you guys enjoyed this video, give it a like. Thank you, you beautiful people, for watching, and stay weird or stay gold. Bye!